Leslie Green, and she's an avid blogger as well. So, really nice to have you with us today.
Same here, Bhaskar. Thank you so much for inviting me to this session and making me part of this expert series. And it's what do you want to say? It's very nice to be connected with the Aditi Organics certifications team, and I really hope to and looking forward to learning from all of you in the days to come. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure. So, Savita, you've been a journalist, and then you've got into HOD of journalism, then moved into solid waste management. So, what prompted that shift, and what's been your journey so far?
First of all, yes, I was rented a place. And I really found a lot of meaning in what they were doing, and sincerely participated and contributed to the whole campaign in a very, very little way. From there, we shifted to the Yelahanka area, and here, even as I was working as a corporate communications officer in a company that was specializing in eco-friendly architecture. I had this opportunity to set up a system for my own apartment, waste management system. So that sort of changed the course of my life, I would say, because initially I was writing and blogging about various issues, but once I started experimenting with the whole SWM thing, then the very direction of my writing also changed.
Okay.
Okay, all right. So I start with the first question.
Yes.
Okay, tell me the question then. Yeah, how? What was it, please?
What's been your journey?
Yes. Okay. So it started this way, wherein sometime in 2009, we were living in an apartment in Malleshwaram, where one of the first segregation campaigns was launched. The community was trying to go self-sustaining, and and when they got the entire community, it was a small community though, got us all of us involved, then I became one of the sincere segregators there, and I really liked the way they were handling the whole things, and trying to be off the grid totally. By doing everything, that is segregation, composting, and dry waste recycling, and all sorts of stuff. And the same thing I kept, sort of continued the whole course. Continued when we moved into a new flat, a new home in Yelahanka, and this is where I got a chance to set up a system for my own community. And because I had a little bit of experience with segregation, I readily jumped at it, and then we worked really hard in this community, and we managed to set up a zero waste community, which was hailed by the Times of India sometime in August 2015 as the model to be replicated across Karnataka. We had a very wonderful system and highly advanced actually, and we had many Infosys teams that visited our apartment, other than many other communities who wanted to replicate our best practices. So we, because of all this, although I was blogging much before this, because of all my HWM experiences and certain composting experiments, and in which I failed big time, I started writing on SWM matters, and the whole thing, because I was really involved, and all the activities were so all-consuming that I realized that most part of my waking hours was going towards this. And so, it made all the sense to start writing about these issues, and also, moreover, I realized that, when it came to anything to do with solid waste management or composting, I realized that there were not enough websites or, resources in India which could help us, come up with some solutions locally. Okay. Whatever, whenever I tried to do research, it took me to some foreign websites, and, we were not able to localize those solutions. We were not able to contextualize their best practices. All right. Then I thought, okay, many people were in need of that information, that crucial information. And that is when my blogging took off really to a real great start, and started attracting a lot of traffic, and it still continues to do so. So this is how the whole thing started, and it is still going on. And I started off as a volunteer and then as a consultant. Now I'm an entrepreneur as well, in the same SWM sphere. This is where it is, now since 2009. Yeah, more than 10-11 years of work.
Very inspiring.
In the same sector.
Very inspiring. Very inspiring journey as well. So, Savita, what is the impact on the environment and human health of long-term application of solid waste through composting?
It's huge, I would say, given the fact that we don't have any basic cleanliness, whether especially in the public places. We Indians are sort of known to keep everything clean inside our home, vicinity, and all that. But the moment we step out of our houses, we don't treat it as our own. That is the major issue. So anything to do with solid waste management, can have a huge impact, and visible impact, and invisible, tangible, intangible, whatever you want to call it. It is going to have that kind of impact. And I have experienced it not only in my community, where we had a robust system, but in many other communities where volunteers have succeeded in setting up a system. Just think about extending it to an area just around our apartment, around our communities. That is what many volunteers across Bangalore are trying to do it. Through many WhatsApp groups, they are in connection with the BBMP officials, all the commissioners and joint commissioners and everybody. It can, in fact, for instance, I tell you, we are a 200 home community, and the waste that we put out every day is more than 150 kgs. So in a month, think about it. It is close to 5,000. That means 5 tons of waste is diverted from landfills. I'm talking only about kitchen waste. I'm not even mentioning, yes, the dry waste, which is a clean plastic, paper, and all sort of stuff, which also is segregated and sent to respective factories as raw material. Okay, so it makes a huge impact, and this is something we have been doing since 2013. So you can well imagine in the last 7-8 years how much waste has been diverted from, prevented from entering the landfills. Okay. And that much pollution has been prevented. And okay, in case of dry waste as well, a lot of plastic has been saved, lot of paper has been saved from going to landfills. And not only that, once we start doing these simple activities like segregation and all, what happens is we become aware of the amount of waste that we are generating. So it is, if not in all the 100% of the people who do segregation, at least in 60-70% of the people, they begin to realize the fact that they are generating a lot of waste, and they tend to switch to things which don't call for too much of packaging. Okay, they tend to carry their own cloth bag. They don't buy carry bags. They don't buy those garbage bags. So there is a sort of change happening internally. So I would say that although these seem like a very innocuous and silly exercises like segregation, especially at a community level, but they have a real great impact when the cumulative impact of it is quite high. It's quite high, and also it contributes to sort of the development of your inner ecology, is what I would like to say. It becomes sort of richer, and we tend to adopt quite a few sustainable methods to carry on with our day-to-day lives. So it has a huge impact, both at the single household level, community level, and at the city level.
So your journey has been now for almost over a decade in this space, and I'm sure initially when you started off, and even now, at it from the tier 2 cities, or even in the urban cities, the awareness around solid waste management may still not be there up to the mark, or there are apprehensions or perceptions related to that. So what are some challenges that you typically encounter when
Yes, mainly the challenges is that we have good policies, There's no doubt about it. SWM policies are more or less robust, I could say. It can be better, but still we can still make do with what we have. But the problem is sort of coherent and consistent action from the government side. There is no penalizing of those offenders who keep littering and who refuse to follow the SWM policies at their community level or household level, office, corporates, and all those people. They can be easily fined and brought on the, made to toe the line. That is not something that's happening, but the penalty is slapped selectively on some people, and people are not taking it seriously. They know that, if they just sit on it, the government will move on. The BBMP officials will move on to somebody else and some other community. That's one major challenge. If you penalize people, things will fall in place like no other. But that is not something that's happening. And secondly, even if wherever they want to implement anything, any policy, it is half-hearted. Just like it happened with the plastic ban. Initially there was a bit of activity, a lot of work happened, and then there was good impact of plastic ban all over the city. Now it's already back in force. You can see plastic bags, carry bags being used everywhere in the city. That's another problem. Thirdly, people refusing to segregate. They're not realizing, even after these 10 years of consistent campaigning, they're not realizing that it doesn't take more than 2-3 minutes a day to do that job. But the impact it can have on the entire environment is huge. It's simply unbelievable, because we can do resource recovery only when segregation is done. If it is mixed, then we can't fix it. It's an unfixable problem. People are not realizing that. These are the three main issues. And the last thing is bulk generators, like big apartments, even like anything that is producing more than 100 kgs of waste. Apartments, corporates, schools, and government institutions, and all these people are not implementing the SWM policies in-house. Very small percentage of these bulk generators are doing a very good job. Really, they have set up a good example, but still we need a lot more people to follow it. These are the main challenges that we are facing.
Okay. So now, a lot of the solid waste management that you practice, I'm sure there's an impact of that from a farming perspective as well. So explain a bit on how that can impact organic farming, and what's been the response of farmers to this?
See, we started a campaign, just in June 2020, it took off. It is called Swachhagraha Compost Connect, and we are, what triggered that was, the fact that many apartments were sitting with excess compost in their vicinity. Even after making use of compost for their own garden and for their own people, we realized that a lot of apartments had tons of compost lying wasted in a corner. Then, we thought we should launch a campaign and try to take it to the farmers and, somewhere nearby, whoever is farming somewhere near those particular apartments. We started in June, and it really is going on very well. And so far, we've been able to facilitate sale of close to 80 tons of good quality compost. It has reached farmlands, and it has gone as far as Ramanagara, on the one side, and Anekal on the other. A lot of terrace gardeners are buying our compost. A lot of farmers who are already organic, and they are buying it from us. And there are those people who want to turn organic, by using this compost. So they are also buying it. So, we had actually, this whole campaign was a vague idea, which was always, it was in the back of our minds. But we had apprehensions. We never thought it would really take off well and people would really come forward to buy it. Okay. But we do all the due diligence needed to pick the right kind of producers who are using the sustainable methods, one thing, which is number one, because we make sure that there are no hazardous machines that are being used to make that compost, prepare that compost. So we do all the due diligence, we take care of all the do's and don'ts, and then only then, we put that particular compost for sale, in a WhatsApp group. We bring together both buyers and sellers, and that is where all the interaction happens, and lots of sales have happened. Nearly more than 50 sales have happened so far.
Okay.
I think
That's
more
great.
than 50 sales, and more than 80 tons of compost has been already sold to various buyers so far, and it's been a wonderful journey, and it's so beautiful to see, what we do at a community level, reaching a farmland and nourishing that soil. It's a wonderful experience so far.
That's very nice. That's very nice. So, is there any particular solid soil type that is suited for using solid waste, or it can be used?
All types. It can be used for all types of soils, and even those soils which already had a good deal of compost in them, especially farmyard manure. See, what is happening is, I don't need to tell you, you would know this fact already, that the soil is already hungry for humus, right? What we are trying to achieve through our campaign is to take this compost and ensure three M's basically. One is microbes, and number two is moisture, and number three is matter, that is organic matter. We are trying to ensure all these very, very important components through our campaign. And I must say that no matter whether they are growing ragi, whether they are growing vegetables, or other cash crops, or whatever they may be growing, but it is suiting all the sorts of crops and all sorts of soils, at least in and around Bangalore.
Okay.
But I'm not aware how many types of soils are there in this small area. But wherever it has gone, it has made a good impact.
Okay.
So it is not soil specific. It suits all types of soils and all types of crops that you want to grow.
Okay.
Yes.
So one other question that we have got from one of our followers on Facebook was does the concentration and persistent levels of metals increase when volume of waste decreases after degradation?
You're talking about heavy metal contamination, right? Yeah. See, the thing is, the question of heavy metal contamination comes only when we compost unsegregated waste. Okay. That is, municipal waste wherein everything is dumped into one. You have your kitchen waste, and you have your dry waste, paper, plastic, and sometimes even sanitary waste. Okay. When all these are mixed, and when you try to mechanically separate only the biodegradable part and then compost, then that problem comes, because it's already mixed, and you don't know what all there could be these cosmetics and many other chemicals that can come in contact with that biodegradable waste, and then we can doubt the presence of heavy metal contamination. That's for sure. But when we segregate the waste properly, barring a few plastic bits which we can't help it, sometimes they do enter despite being very careful. Barring those few mistakes, when we compost segregated kitchen waste, which comes directly out of our kitchen, there is no fear of heavy metal contamination. Okay, that is we are sure. So whenever we pick producers, we make sure that their segregation is in a good place, and they do composting using proper methods. Okay, when we follow these two steps, we don't have to worry about heavy metal contamination.
Okay. Yeah. So what has been the impact of COVID on this entire solid waste management practice?
COVID.
Yeah, post-COVID.
COVID.
Yes. Has there been any impact of this?
Impact in the sense that some communities, at least they realize that, those who are doing their own solid waste management are better off. In the sense, we, especially for instance, in my community, we didn't have to worry about the, BBMP truck or any private truck coming and picking it up, because they were all, they were only there as part of the essential services. They were available, no doubt, but we were doing our own composting, and we were doing a lot of segregation was happening, and our sanitary waste was being sent for incineration to the designated incinerators. So we had to deal with very small amount of whatever unrecyclable waste, but otherwise most of the problem was solved. But I'm aware of some communities where there is no system in place, and they had all these plastic bags tightly tied up, but still they had puffed up because they were lying in the sun for a very long time, for 3-4 days, and it was a big mess. Some people did realize, and some people, try to set up a system during that time. But I must say that, without the government's pressure, nothing can happen.
True.
Okay. Yeah, people realized the problem, but they did not act on it. At least not a majority of them.
Okay.
So COVID-19, we were hoping that it would really open their eyes. But yes, some people woke up, but now other people are still pretending to sleep. Yeah.
So there's also been this trend of terrace gardening and people growing their own vegetables, right? Like we have started doing it in our own terrace. So how do you think this can be used from this manure standpoint?
Oh, that's wonderful. Nice to know that Aditi is doing it, and I hope all the other offices and corporates, take a cue from you and follow.
Personal side. So in my home, my terrace, we've started growing
vegetables.
Vegetables.
I'm sure you're having some good time there. Yeah. Yes. See, I must say, without a shred of doubt, that Bangalore is leading in this particular activity. We have this organic terrace gardening group, wherein there are more than, I think, 20,000-30,000 people who are, and a good chunk of them are actually super active with their terrace gardening or making use of their balcony. I make use of my little balcony to grow a few herbs, whatever that I can grow using that much of sunlight. And people like me, we are all very active, and we have understood the difference between conspicuous consumption and conscious consumption. And we have been able to educate our own families and even neighbors about what it means to grow, for yourself, and we've been able to differentiate between the quality of what we produce and what we buy, basically those which are sprayed with pesticides and all. So this is a huge impact, and there is a crazy crowd going on actually. And what all they've been able to grow, especially, I know some people who have even grown apples in Bangalore on their terrace. Okay. And you should go in a small pot of this height, maybe like not more than 1.5 foot height. I have seen a chiku tree which had more than 50 chikus in it. Likewise, mangoes, even grapes have been grown on the terrace. So there are quite a few. I mean, there are multiple examples which are, in sort of inspiring others to take to terrace gardening. And these people invariably, they segregate their waste, they compost their waste so that, they can make use of the same thing for their own garden. So it is a beautiful cycle that has already built up. And it is also sort of, there are so many workshops happening, so many seminars happening through OTG is what it is called. Dr. Vishwanath was the pioneer, who envisioned something like this, and he had thousands of followers. He unfortunately passed away during COVID, but still, whatever that he has already he has set the ball in motion already, and it is rolling like crazy. There is no doubt about it.
That's really nice.
Yes.
So what advice would you like to give our audience from a solid waste management perspective?
It's very simple. Please don't think segregation is a huge thing. It is hardly, maybe in the first week, you may have to spend more than 5 minutes a day to understand, to put where and what into which bin. But otherwise, you have a lot of information available on the net, and we have this solid waste management roundtable website. We have a 2-bin 1-bag website, and we have Swachhagraha website, which will give you all information that you need to set up a system for your home or your community. You have my blog where you can go and study all the methods available. All this information is there. Please make use of it. So please spend, all of you, your entire family, just put your heads together. Just spend 5 minutes a day in the first week. From the second week onwards, trust me, it will not take more than 2 minutes. You will, by then your muscles, will develop some sort of a memory. Muscle memory is what we call it in tennis, no? Likewise. So you develop that, and then you can never go wrong. And, there are also, once you segregate, you realize how much waste you are putting out, your organic waste, your kitchen waste. If you are at a home level, I must say that there are multiple home composting solutions that are available. Just Google it and you will find all of them. And compost your waste. Okay. Just by doing this work, you will be preventing 60 to 65% of the waste from reaching the landfill. Just by doing this, yeah, because on a daily basis we put out 60 to 65% of kitchen waste, 30 to 35% of dry waste, that can be paper, e-waste, metal waste, all sorts of recyclable waste, I mean. And the third one is 5 to 10% of sanitary waste. Okay, if you take care of the first two components, that is kitchen waste and dry waste, you are already 90% free from the landfill.
Wow.
Which is 90% free. The remaining 10% we can, it can be sent to landfill, or otherwise, if you are a community, you can tie up with an incinerator, and make your entire community a zero waste community. Okay. See, with this, we can leave behind a much more beautiful planet for our children. Okay. They do deserve clean air, clean water, healthy soil. This is the best gift we can give to our children, is what I mean, this is something I always tell everybody, because as you know, Karthik, our children are already very brand conscious.
Yeah.
They know what to want, what kind of phone, what kind of laptop, shoes, bags, everything. They have already a brand specific approach is already there. But when it comes to something as fundamental as clean air, something as fundamental as clean water, they don't have any knowledge, because we are not bringing them up in that way. Okay, they still don't know what is truly precious, what is truly essential. As we realized during COVID-19, we realize what are truly essential commodities, right? Yeah. So this is high time we built a beautiful narrative around it. Okay, and try to steer the entire conversation in that direction, and get more people to do it, and especially educate our children, so that whatever little things we do through segregation, composting, and dry waste segregation and all that, it is always going to have a cumulative effect on somebody's farmland so far away. That is a beautiful thing that we can contribute, and it is very much under our control. See, air pollution, for instance, we have to do emission test, and that's all we can do.
Yeah.
We can't tell the guy who's polluting the atmosphere through a lot of smoke. Yeah. We can't get out and tell them to do the right thing.
Correct.
But through waste management, what happens is you can bring an entire community together and prevent a lot of pollution from happening. Okay, so this is a wonderful sustainability tool that we can use and really put to work. So, but it doesn't initially. Yes, a little bit of work is needed, no doubt. But after that, it can be sort of on autopilot.
So
it runs on its own.
Step is important. Taking the first step is important.
Very much.
So that was really nice talking to you, Savita. Thanks for sharing all those insights. Some very practical things which we can do at our homes every day, and thereby contributing to a cleaner planet. So thanks once again for your time, and looking forward to working with you closely.
Same here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.